You are listening to the Slow Living Podcast, and I'm your host, Stephanie O'Day. What if I told you that you could truly have the life of your dreams, the life you've always wanted, one filled with abundance, joy, and a sense of purpose? It's absolutely possible, and I see it each and every day with my coaching clients. It all starts with learning how to slow down. You deserve to live the life you've always dreamt about. Let's get started. Hello, Slow Living Society. Steph here, and welcome to another edition of the Slow Living Podcast. We're on episode number 145, and I've got to tell you that number seems so big to me and so kind of abstract. Like I can't picture what 145 things look like. If you know how in the Rain Man movie, the Dustin Hoffman character, they sprinkle toothpicks around and he can instantly take a snapshot with his eyes and his brain and come up with a number. I can't visualize what 145 times that I've spoken into this microphone and connected with you looks like, but I can feel it. And it feels amazing and it feels wonderful. And I feel so lucky and so privileged that I get to do this and that you are here and you are listening. And please know, wherever you are on the slow living journey, you are not alone. And where you are is where you're supposed to be. There's no right way or wrong way to human around. And this is not a one size fits all life. This is real life. And we are living in a very, very busy time. We are living in the midst of like grind and hustle culture. And the fact that you have already decided on purpose that you don't want that. You don't want that for yourself. And you certainly don't want that for your children. Already shows that you are so far ahead of the curve. And I want you to acknowledge that. And I want you to kind of envision wrapping yourself up in a great big, huge, warm blanket and thanking yourself and give yourself a pat on the back and some gold stars because you're pretty amazing. You have taken the time to download this podcast and listen to me. And whether or not you've listened to under 145 episodes or this is your first, you are not behind. You're exactly where you need to be and where you're supposed to be. And I am so incredibly proud of you. Today I am not exactly certain what number, maybe it's number 5 in the slow parenting series of, again, I don't know exactly how many. I am just going with what feels good in my heart. The last episode that I recorded in the slow parenting series was about getting your child situated and ready for the school age years. And we were focused on academics. We were focused on a whole bunch of milestones and markers that teachers look for, that educators look for, that pediatricians look for to quote unquote prove or collect the data that your child is school appropriate, ready to be in a general ed classroom. Today, we're going to shift a little. And today, we're going to talk about emotional regulation or self-regulation. Both terms get used an awful lot within education, also within psychology and therapy. I have a background in early childhood education and social work. I currently work in an elementary school. I'm in the process of becoming yoga certified. I've done training before with trauma awareness, and this particular yoga certification also focuses on trauma and becoming trauma informed. And I want you to really think about that when it comes to emotional regulation. And I thought for a while, and this actually came to me on a run of whether or not I entitle this like Emotional Regulation 101 or Self-Regulation 101 with the idea that I'm speaking to you as a grown-up and how to manage your emotions. But since I'm already in the midst of a slow parenting series, and to me, one of the reasons it was very important for me to work on myself and learn how to slow down is because I wanted to model that behavior for my children. I didn't want them to grow up feeling like they're good enough, or them giving all their all wasn't good enough for society. It wasn't the best. I didn't want them to feel like if they got an A, their first thought was, but I didn't get an A plus. No. So that's why I've decided on purpose and with intention that this is going to be part of the slow parenting series, with the idea that you are going to teach and model proper self regulation and proper emotional regulation to your children. Because when you know something, that's when you're able to teach it. And you can't teach something that you don't know. So, what does self regulation look like? It looks like, if you kind of imagine being squeezed, what comes out. So, in Buddhist philosophy, they talk about like envisioning a fruit. So, if you envision an orange, if you squeeze an orange, what comes out? Orange juice. Each and every time you're going to get orange juice. Well, for you as a person, when you are squeezed, what comes out? Is it anger? Is it anxiety? Is it fear? Do you lash out? Maybe at times inappropriately when you feel stress and someone disturbs you, or something happens within your day that you can't expect, or something happens that didn't meet your idea of what was going to happen. And so your first reaction is upsetness, anger, and really just something that you might deem, or others might deem, as inappropriate. That's not a healthy environment for children to be around. So I'm going to repeat that. It is not healthy for children to be in an environment where their caretakers lash out in irrational ways that they cannot expect. So, depending on where you are in your kind of healing and self-care and slow living journey, my words might really garner up some feelings of inadequacy, some feelings of, this is it. This is my sore spot. This is what I need to work on. I know I yell. I know my moods are sporadic. I know that sometimes people feel like they have to walk on eggshells around me. And I know how that feels because I grew up in that kind of environment. But I also know that I want to break the cycle, and I don't want that for my children. So please honor that. And if you need to take a pause right now, if what I just said really kind of creates tension in your body and something that you're uncomfortable with, pause me. I'm not going anywhere. Hit the pause button and do some breathing and center yourself, because where you are is where you are. There's no blame here. There's no shame. It's literally just a data point. Where you are is not who you're going to be, and it's not where you want to go. So that's what slow living is all about, is deciding on purpose where you are, and then how you're going to get from where you are to where you want to go. And then we just reverse engineer it, and we find teeny tiny little baby steps to get you from where you are to where you want to go. I recorded an episode on and land. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but if you search in the podcast player for and land, and it's the idea that two things can be true at once. You can have two thoughts and two feelings and two emotions, and both can be true at the same time. We live in this hustle culture, in this kind of like marketing to like I want to say era, not instead of aura, era, in that we're told there's one way and only one way to succeed. And that is marketing hype. That's someone trying to sell you something. If only you took this supplement every day for 30 days, your life would be complete. Or if only you did it this way and this way only, your marriage would be amazing and wonderful and you would never fight. So that's nice in theory, and that probably provides a lot of clicks and a lot of buy nows. But in real life, and if you're here listening to me, you know I don't believe in that. That's not what I teach, and that's not how I coach. I believe that you get to decide on purpose what the next best step to take is, and that's by going slow. So simply look only within. You know, if you could describe yourself as an emotionally regulated person, you maybe can acknowledge that you're better than you used to be, but there's room for growth. And so, how do you teach this to kids if you're not emotionally regulated yourself? Well, I'm glad you asked because that's what we're going to talk about today. Hey there. Are you looking for an easier way to meet your goals without sacrificing your ethics or morals? If so, you're going to want to check out the new masterclass I recorded on how to achieve more by learning how to slow down. I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but I promise you that this is a proven system that works. If you're ready to finally meet your personal and professional goals without sacrificing yourself or your sanity, check out this new recording at stephanieodea.com/masterclass. Okay, back to this week's episode. So I'm going to lead you through a mindfulness exercise. If you're driving, that's okay. I certainly do not want you to close your eyes in any way. I want you to be completely and totally safe. But wherever you are right now, if you're on a walk, that is just fine. I'm not going to ask you to sit or to stand or take any sort of pose or posture. Instead, I want you to hear my words and just feel guided and feel here and feel now in your body. And maybe if it's safe to do so, raise your arms over your head. If you're driving, maybe do one arm at a time. And then put your arms down. Keep your spine in the same spot. If your shoulders inched towards your ears, lower them, but keep your back straight. If you think you're overarching your back, fix your pelvis, kind of tuck it a little, and try really hard to keep your spine straight. Engage your core. Together, we're going to take 3 deep breaths. I'm going to guide you through them. And especially if you're working with children, it's not applicable to get a child who is really freaking out or having a hard time or having a meltdown or super crazy excited to immediately calm down and do 3 breaths. Same with you. If you find that you are in a really agitated state and someone really upset you and you're feeling very temper tantrumy in your body, that's okay. I'm going to teach you this guided breathing. And this is something that you can do at any time. You can go into the bathroom at work and practice this. So the first thing to do is we're going to do an audible breath. So we're going to take a deep breath in through our nose. And then we're going to let it out with our mouth open. And we're going to make noise in our throat. And maybe the noise is a roar. Maybe it's something loud because you are angry and you want to let it out. That is okay. So we'll do that together. Okay. We're going to do it again. And this time we're going to keep our lips together and we're going to make a humming noise in our throat. We're going to take a deep breath in through our nose and then out through our nose with our lips closed, but we're still going to make noise. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to soften our throat and we're going to make like a whispery noise with our throat, which could be a sigh, but it is a nice, deep, cleansing breath. Let's do it together now. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Okay. So talk to me. Tell me, how does that feel? Does your body feel calmer now? Can you tell that this is a great way to kind of chill out and take you from a really, really high feeling to one that's a little calmer and a little more centered and a little more grounded? That is how you self regulate. That is how you acknowledge. You don't get mad. You don't shame a human feeling, which is anger or frustration or disgust. Any of those inside out characters, none of them are wrong. They're just feelings. So if a child is having a hard time in front of you, don't tell them, don't cry. Don't do this. You're fine. It's fine. No. Acknowledge the feeling that they're having. And for you as a grown-up human, acknowledge the feeling that you're having. I can tell you are really frustrated right now. You are really, really upset. You wanted to watch this show and the internet is not working. And that is not fair. And that is not right. And who are these internet people who decided that they're going to do work in the area and the lines are down and now our Wi-Fi doesn't work? That is not cool. I don't like them. What do you think we should do? Do you think we should write them an angry letter? Do you think maybe we should yell at them? Like, what do you think we should do? So acknowledge the feeling without shame, without blame. And then pay attention to how there is a next better feeling to have. There's anger, and then there's frustration, and then there's disappointment, and then there's sadness. And if you look at kind of emotions as like rungs on a monkey bar, whatever rung you're on, acknowledge it. But then you can see the end of the monkey bar. And you know that's where you want to go because that's where maybe happiness is, or joy, or contentment, or bliss, or peace. But from where you are, you cannot bypass all of those rungs on the monkey bars. But what you can do after that feeling is acknowledged is you can move to a better feeling emotion in your body. And sadness, many times children, when they're just really super upset, they're sad that they aren't in charge. They are not in control. These grown-ups make up so many rules, and it's not fair because it doesn't matter if they're in church. Their legs are wiggly and they want to kick and they want to squirm and they want to fidget. And so just think about that. I talk a lot about embracing your inner child and paying attention to that. Put yourself into a 3-year-old body or a 4-year-old body and think about how much energy a 3-year-old has. When a 3-year-old gets to the park, what does that 3-year-old do? They run. They have so much energy in their body. They just want to let it out. Now think about you as a 30 something, 40 something, 50 something, 60 something person. Do you have that much pent up energy that when the car door opens and you're at the park, you burst into a heavy sprint? Probably not. And if you are, please let me know what your secret is because I would love some of that. But just acknowledge where your child is and where it is you want them to go. And yes, when someone is tired and when someone is hungry and when someone doesn't have their physical needs met, their emotional needs, it's impossible to have them be met. So absolutely do as much as you can to provide structure, to provide stability, to provide continuity in a day-to-day life for both you and for your child. We talk about time blocking an awful lot. You need to have that kind of scaffolding to cling to so you know what is next for you. Okay, so that's kind of how it would work in a classroom setting. If kids are really, really high and you're trying to get them calm and centered, how do you create that sort of calm and peaceful and mindful situation at home? Well, first off, know, and we've talked about this an awful lot within the podcast, you are in charge of you. So if your needs aren't being met, if you already know that you're stressed out, burned out, overwhelmed, you do have to pay attention to that. And just acknowledge some things. Okay. So how do you take these ideas and these practices and implement them in your own home, in your own family? So first off, absolutely have that kind of structure and stability so kids know what to expect. Grown-ups most certainly thrive on a schedule, as do children. Pick a standard wake up time and bedtime for your kids. You can have some flexibility. You don't have to be rigid, but you do need to have that framework intact, that sort of scaffolding. So if you look at it from that vine metaphor, because I absolutely love gardening metaphors, as a vine needs a trellis and a structure. But the stronger it is, the less it will need that structure and that trellis to cling to. And eventually it'll be so strong that vine is going to tear down the fence and the structure anyway, because it'll be so strong. That's what I would like you to kind of envision. You can also look at a cast when a bone is broken or you've just had like knee surgery and you're all casted up. The hope is you won't need that firm, rigid casting forever because you want the bone, you want yourself, your body, your children to be strong and thoughtful without that cast on them. But in order for them to grow and become strong, they need that in place first. So sometimes people come to me and they want to work with me and they don't they balk at all things structure. They don't want to do time blocking. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. And that's fine. You can absolutely have that thought and that idea. But if the data shows that you are not thriving or your children are not thriving or your family environment doesn't feel calm and centered, then give this a try. Give it a try. So the 3-part success formula is mindset plus action plus consistency. This is the action. The mindset is, I want to fix something. Okay, I've given you the answer. These are your action steps. Give it a try in a consistent basis. Give me 30 days. Give me 100 days. And then collect the data and compare. Are you better with some structure and stability or worse off? And then you get to decide. So, what are your takeaways today? Your takeaways today are you are a human and your kiddos are humans and humans are messy and they have all of the emotions and feelings and thoughts, and none of them are bad. Do not label anything bad or anything good. In an earlier episode with raising a mindful child in the slow parenting series, I talked with Fallon Buckley and we talked about a few curriculums that we use within education. One is called Second Step. Google it, print out the free materials, learn. Kimochis is a great way to put a visualization to feelings and emotions for little kids. There are free resources on that site. Zones of Regulation is an SEL curriculum that's used within schools. SEL is social emotional learning. These tools are all there. They are free. You can go, if you want, to years and years and years of therapy to learn how to self-regulate, or you can decide on purpose that where I am isn't good enough and I want to change my life. I want to transform it so the next generation is better than this one. And you can do that by teaching and modeling proper self-regulation and emotional regulation to your children. Okay, pretty people, consider yourself loved and hugged. I think you're amazing and wonderful and lovely, and I am so insanely proud of you. Do you have a slow living story to share? Leave me a voicemail at stephanieodea.com/podcast with any questions, comments, feedback, or testimonials, and I will be sure to include it in an upcoming episode. Also, if you found value in this episode, please share it with your family and friends and subscribe through your favorite podcast provider. The more you share, comment, and leave positive reviews, the more people we can reach and share the slow living lifestyle and messaging. Thank you, Slow Down Society, and have an absolutely wonderful day.